Right, okay, people, so we are in for another episode of the Legacy Podcast. Today we are on episode 46 and we are joined by another guest today, someone I've been wanting on for quite a while now, goes by the name of Cam Mackay. So if you just give us a bit of an intro into who you are, what you do, and a general update, and just take it away.
Yeah, so right now I'm just a full-time online coach, so that's all I've been doing for the past 18 months now. Before that was a one-to-one PT as well. Competitive bodybuilder, I've been competing now for 2-3 years. Only once on a bodybuilding stage. Before that was men's physique, but definitely sort of always had a passion for the bodybuilding route. It was kind of just about working my way to that and sort of like going through the ranks kind of thing. But yeah, competitive bodybuilder, online coach, and I think like everyone else, man, just love the bodybuilding kind of the industry of it and just everything about it, the people involved in it, and it's nice to be on the podcast and just speak to someone else who's pretty fired up about it.
Definitely, it's just a good source for networking as well, Cam as well, especially Cam. I think I've mentioned you on a lot of podcasts as well when it comes to like social media and building a brand, because we've sort of followed each other from when we was nothing. Obviously, you've been in the industry probably a little bit longer, but to see the development from us both, and especially on your end now, is phenomenal. And even just from like coaching sheets, there is so much that I've learned from you as well. So to have you on is a big pleasure. So in terms of your time in the fitness industry, how long have you been sort of PTing, online coaching now?
I think it was like May 2017 that I first started one-to-one coaching. So I started one-to-one coaching in a pure gym. And it was literally like something I've always wanted to do. I worked an office job and I thought, do you know what, I'm just going to do it. So I literally did, you do courses anywhere and everywhere these days, can't you? So that like sort of baseline course, got that out of the way, straight into one-to-one PTing. And ever since then, I've always had like an online option. So I always, even if it was like a hybrid option, I always had an option for it from the get-go. And then kind of just weaned my way off one-to-one PT as things got better and better, and moved fully online.
Definitely. I mean, like I say, I've been following you for that long now. I even remember the stories of you doing your afternoon cardio before evening clients.
Yeah.
So I mean,
Jesus, that's a while ago.
It is a while. Like I say, we've been in contact now for some time now, so it's been good to follow the journey. And from that, I'm in a similar field, still one-to-one PTing, but again we're in that big midst of just transitioning to full-time online, which I reckon will be there sort of by the back end of this year. It's just about building that sustainability and just learning as well. So obviously, what when you was a PT and the skill set that you had, in clients working the gym floor, what values do you think have transferred you into the online world that have served you well as an online coach?
I think the biggest things is that kind of like one-to-one communication with a client. I think that and building that level of rapport is, I wouldn't say it's difficult to do online, but it's something that's like you can easily forget it with online coaching and with any sort of online programming. So to have that one-to-one contact, to have the confidence to be able to like take over a session, take over a conversation, that kind of thing, to then move that online. And obviously you've got a bigger audience. You've got technically, when you move online, there's a option for like a bigger client base, a bigger pool of clients, to be able to take over that and then sort of own it as the coach. That's probably the biggest thing. But as well, it's just little things like, I think a lot of people would like how a one-to-one PT walks the gym floor, and you kind of you go around and you do your talking, and that's how you get your clients, and you're educating them and you're helping them and things like that. A lot of people need to understand that is what social media is for from an online perspective.
Definitely.
So if you're not using like Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, you're not using that as your gym floor, and you're just expecting people to flock to you because you're an online coach, it's not going to go very well. You still have to put the groundwork in from that gym floor perspective, and that's kind of like what social media is to what it should be to an online coach.
That's an interesting perspective that I hadn't heard that one before as well. And I guess as well, this is the benefits of coming from a PT background to an online coach. Me and Cam are now able to use the lessons of understanding how to work with people, understand emotions, and transfer that into an online world. Whereas obviously, although the online coaching, the barrier to entry is very low, you essentially don't need any qualifications. I do believe having that level 3 and that brief experience in a gym environment will serve you very well online.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and obviously when we look into what coaching is, in some forms, I heavily see it as almost like an art form. The ability to make sure we're covering exercise execution, make sure we're understanding how the client moves. Biomechanics. Online coaching is so much more than just training nutrition. It's commonly perceived as just you pay someone and you get a training plan, nutrition plan. But the good coaches, for example, looking into Cam's work, we've got stuff like the members group, we've got stuff like the the website which has personalised touches. So much variables will separate a good coach from a great coach, and that is definitely key in making sure that you can go far in this industry.
Definitely. I think as well, as obviously you see higher up and higher level coaches, and they do get clients who they're equipped enough to be able to be given a training program, and they know a lot about movement and mechanics and things like that. But you have to understand that, especially from coming from a one-to-one PT perspective, you're gonna be still working with the general population.
Definitely.
So if you've not got like systems in place, exercise libraries, tutorial videos, things like that, if you've not got that in place to replicate the one-to-one PT session that you would be doing, showing someone how to do a deadlift, showing someone how to do a squat, you're already behind, because there's so many people, like you see it all over Instagram these days, people are firing out educational videos and informative stuff, and like I've seen you putting like client group specific content on there, and that's the same as you having a chat after a one-to-one PT session with a client. So like you said, going from being a one-to-one PT, there's so many skills that you can carry over. But I do think a lot of people, they make the transition and think, oh, well, because I've done all that graft in the past, I don't need to do it. I don't need to do it anymore. Yeah, I can sit on my laptop for 2 hours a day and be an online coach. And if that is genuinely your perception of being an online coach, you ain't going to be an online coach for long.
Definitely. As well as that, that just taps into the idea of, although we are coaches, we want to be coachable. Obviously, you have your coach, but the day you think everything is a day nothing. So that mindset from the get-go of always learning more. For example, when I was on the gym floor, I literally had a red notebook, and obviously lucky I was enough to have a mentor, but I would always just ask questions and I would write it on my notebook. And just from the get-go, I've always had that mindset of, I will never know enough, but I'm going to make sure it's my daily action to make sure that I'm always learning. And even the client videos that I publish in my group chat, that directly did come from you. Obviously, I watch your stories and I was like, Cam's done that, so I'm going to look into my business and how I can elicit some sort of similar value from that and further grow my business. So I'm learning from Cam, I'm learning from other coaches, and that in turn will allow me to always be learning.
It's little things, mate. Like I used to, when a one-to-one PT, if you think about the amount of questions you get asked in a session by a client, and you just reel answers off, don't you? And you do it. But if you kind of step back and think about it, these online clients, they're going to have the same questions.
Definitely.
And it's going to be, you're going to be covering a lot of people by answering one question. So what I do now is, once a week I'll put in my group chat, right, doing a weekly Q&A, as many questions as you want, get like 20, 30 questions. I literally just record like a 45-minute Q&A, and then I put it in the group. All my clients can listen to it, and it just covers every base of questions that you can imagine off clients for that week. And just little things like that can adapt the service so well.
Definitely. And obviously what we're bringing there is obviously the beauty of individualism. If you think when you're on a one-to-one client, you're very accessible, like if they ask you a question, instantly within a second you reply. Transferring that quality into the online world will serve us so well. My response time with clients, I make sure that it's pretty much second to none, just to replicate that coaching experience and making sure that we're as accessible as possible. Because when it comes to general population, if I learn anything from being a PT, it's that everybody will be at different stages. You enter the world at fitness, beginner, intermediate, advanced, and how you approach each person will be completely different from the next. Definitely. So obviously in terms of building a brand, obviously we've already covered the name. The main thing here is we're not using our names. Obviously you've got Team Conditioned, I've got Legs Fitness Training. In terms of building a brand, what do you think have been some of the key drivers of making it as well known, as widespread as it is today?
I think a brand itself needs a personality.
Definitely.
And that comes with obviously the person behind it. And I don't know, people are taking like coaching brands like two different ways at the minute. And it's either creating a brand where you could be like, right, I'm going to umbrella off into loads of different things, loads of different coaches underneath me and things like that. Or people are going down the route of them being the sole like sort of personality, and therefore it's exclusive to be coached by the individual. And it does depend on which way you want to go with it, I think. Obviously, again, I'm still quite early in the journey. I like to think, which is quite motivating, because there's always different options and different ways to progress. But I think the first thing you got to do is just have some form of personality, be yourself with it, let people understand what it's going to be like to be working with you. Like if you're quite a laughy, jokey, fun person, you've got to have that as part of your brand. If you like being quite educational with it and talking through things, and you've got to have that as like sort of part of the content that comes with the brand, and it's got to kind of portray what is going to happen when they enter into it. Because I think I've witnessed this firsthand, where you kind of see what someone's like and what the brand looks like from the outside, and when you venture into it a little bit further, sign up to the service, buy a product, it's completely not what you think it's going to be.
Exactly, yeah.
For good or for bad, I think you're much better off being a little bit more transparent with what it's going to be, and that then being like the buy-in factor, because you almost know people are going to be satisfied with it then.
Yeah, of course. And as well, what we're doing then is, as we're being transparent, we're letting people know that we're human too. Not many people are going to want to buy into a service that is just robotic. They want their coach to understand.
Yeah, definitely.
Obviously you have your off-plan meals. I go out and, do bits of walks. I go to social events. That level of transparency will only help build trust more with the client.
100%. People are going to want to know that you do what they do.
Exactly.
Like a client can't be scared to ring you and tell you they messed up last night and had an extra cookie. Do you know what I mean? If that's a genuine worry of theirs, then it's just the relationship's not going to be there.
Yeah. And obviously, as business grows, if you once you enter the online world or any sort of reputable industry like the PT industry, when you set that persona of who you are, it's very hard to escape it. So if you set that and it's false and it's not you, it's only going to get harder and harder to replicate that person who you are. So being you from the start is going to be key.
Definitely.
And then from there, you can still have that, that humorous approach, that educational approach. All it's a case of is just working on skill set to develop that. You can still be humorable and, very smart at the same time. So it does work.
There's no reason why it can't change as well. It doesn't have to, because you can change as an individual. We all grow, we all get more confident, we all learn more, learn what works in terms of coaching and how to be a better coach and how to, get better results and that kind of thing for clients. So there's no reason why it can't change. But like you said, I think if you portray something completely false, or you almost try and do something that's not you from the start, you've got to be willing to keep that up then. Definitely. Because it's very obvious to a consumer when things are changing, like all the time. And they'll look and think there's just absolutely no consistency to what's going on there. And that's the last thing you want.
That's what I mean. You literally just started my first sentence there. So literally just going on to consistency. The best thing's a result of consistency, because the main thing when it comes to building a brand is just building habits and trust. If you think, when you go to buy a car, you can't just buy a car off Amazon and it comes the next day. You go to the dealership, you go for a test drive, you meet the driver, you go on test drives. There's so much levels of trust and entries to, buying that product before you actually buy it. So building trust, creating habits with your audience is all going to come from consistency. If you look at sort of like Miners Campage, we haven't really done that much other than knowledge. This is literally just 7-day posting every single day, 365 days a year. We don't really have times off just because we are that consistent with the process. And as a result, people are now beginning to notice who we are, who Cam is, who I am, and it's scaling businesses.
Yeah, I think it is, like you say, little things like, if people see a post on Instagram every day and they see it every day, it gets ingrained in them. If they see a YouTube video on the same day every week, if they say little things like, if they see a story of you doing your cardio in the morning every day, it's like, wow, this guy walks the walk as well as talks the talk. But it doesn't have to be to do with fitness. It's like, if they see a story of you reading a book, educating yourself, or doing courses and doing things that are outside what you need to be doing, but is only going to benefit you. It shows so much more about you and about what you're going to be about from a business perspective, and therefore a coaching perspective in our point of view.
100%.
It's only going to benefit you.
Yeah, and obviously when you have a coach, what you're doing is essentially you're investing in yourself. The idea with investments is you want them to reciprocate. So if a client is going to invest in you, it's up to us to make sure that we're sort of selling ourselves in the best way. So always being learning, always improving the service, always adding something new. What that's showing to the client is that investment will reciprocate, because if we're willing to invest in ourselves, they're obviously going to invest in us as well.
Definitely. So I love my clients to know I've got a coach.
Yeah, of course.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I love that And I love the fact that I know that my coach has got a coach.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
It's just going to be a constant sort of passing down of information. I'd never have had a client website if I wasn't with Josh and I wasn't signed up to his website as a client.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
This is so easy to manage, and that passing down of information. For me now, I don't think I'd ever not have a coach from a building point of view. I don't think I'd ever not have a coach from a business point of view.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I don't think I'd ever do that.
As well as that, it just means, from accountability as a business, we're out here to build empires, we're out here to build, a legacy. So we want our empires to be built with strong foundations. Whilst you've got Josh to coach you and cater for your training, nutrition, sleep, etc., it only allows you to just go full blown into your business and your clients.
Yeah, there's nothing better than not having to think about things.
Exactly.
Because obviously I could coach myself because it's what I do.
Yeah.
But having a second set of eyes, having someone do it for you, learn from them along the way, and have it completely taken out of your hands, it allows me to go all in on business, all in on clients, and I can still put 100% effort into what I'm being told to do.
Yeah, and then what we're doing there is we're just capitalising on our support network, the people we surround ourselves with, and like me and you spoke before, when you sit with winners, the conversation is always different. So with Instagram, follow coaches, follow people that are going to help you get towards your goal. If you have a goal of competition prep, you would follow prep coaches, invest in prep sites. If you want to lose weight, you would follow coaches that specialise in weight loss, or follow content that helps you lose weight. How you create your support network is heavily going to influence the physique and results that you can get.
Definitely.
So obviously, in terms of investing into kit during lockdown, what's your sort of viewpoint in just making the right choices and handling lockdown in the best way?
Do you know what? I'll be honest. I don't think even I reacted quick enough.
No.
I did leave it a couple of weeks. It was one of them, wasn't it, where you thought to yourself, how long is this going to act?
Yeah.
How long is it going to last even? And I do think buying kit would be the 100%. If you care about your results and you care about sort of the whole bodybuilding fitness journey, buying some kit is going to be your best bet.
Yeah.
Because if you think about the money you're saving by not going out eating, not driving as much, not just spending it on rubbish, you could easily invest in a barbell and some, like we were talking about before, a barbell and some plates, mate, that does easily remit to sort of weigh out a Costa every day versus a barbell over a month. You could easily afford it.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's going to depend on financial situations and whatnot. But for me, it was a no-brainer. After about 2 weeks of being sat in the flat, me and Hannah were like, there's absolutely no way we can't buy some kit. So we've got plates, barbell, rack, bench, and that's what we were saying, we're seeing people buy loads of machines and things like that, and I get it. And if you've got room for it, and I guess you've got the spare money for it, then 100%. But there's nothing that I can't do with a barbell, a set of Olympic dumbbells and a load of plates. There's absolutely nothing I can't do. I think investing in it is a good idea. If you can. But the biggest thing with lockdown is I do not think it should ever, and when people have called it this to me, I've been a bit like, that's just the wrong way to look at it. I don't think it should ever be looked as an excuse to stop.
No, of course not.
If you can't train with heavyweight, what's stopping you from doing, we've seen body weight stuff, resistance band stuff, your cardio, your nutrition, there's nothing stopping you from doing all that. It literally becomes an excuse.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
Which is, in my opinion, completely wrong, and it does show where priorities lie.
Exactly. So then obviously we're looking, each choice will have a direct effect on your physique. Going out of lockdown, it will show the people that stopped and the people that, obviously made the right choices and invested. And as well as that, one of the best things about this page, from a coaching perspective, results perspective, is everything. It's allowed us to just strip back. Everybody's just calmed down. Now we're focusing on exercise execution. If, me and Cam, we've only got access to a barbell, so we're doing movements, like flat bench. I haven't flat benched in ages, but now all we know to do is create a new stimulus, focus on connection, focus on execution. In terms of squatting, I've been dedicating a lot more time to mobility. When we was in gyms, I would always just go full blown and just chase, big movements, big loads, PBs, whereas now I'm taking a step back, assessing mobility, assessing where my biomechanics are at, which means going into lockdown now, I'm going to have a better understanding of my body, my clients' bodies, because I'm getting the video feedback. So ultimately, there's a lot more benefits to be seen from this.
I've got clients who have never looked as good as they look now.
Exactly,
and
yeah.
It's actually because they're looking at this day and thinking, I've got this many hours of my day. to prep all my food, nail all my steps, do my cardio. I can take my time through my sessions. Like, you either look at it like that, or you look at it like, I can't do anything, I can't train, I can't go and do my cardio on the treadmill. Like, there's the whole outdoors for you to go for a run. It's not ideal, and it's maybe not as fun or as efficient as using a machine, but it doesn't stop you from doing it.
Definitely. And as well as that, all it means then is we're just creating a skill set that's just going to serve us very much well. What we're able to do now is solely focus on training, solely focus on the people that we surround ourselves with, the stuff that we learn from an educational point. You know, you've got all this time in your day, you can be reading books, you can be investing in member sites, there's pages on Facebook to follow, so there's so much benefits that can come from this situation.
It's little things like, if you, because of your lifestyle, have never been able to get into a routine before, just because it's so sporadic, all day, every day, to set habits now. Go for walks at certain times, eat meals at certain times, do steps at certain times, get yourself a bedtime, get yourself a wake-up time. Like, all of that, if you can instill those habits now and then keep them when this is over, you're actually going to come out in a miles better position than you were in.
Definitely. And obviously when we start building on those habits, then we can just, you know, transfer that into real life, and we're just going to come out of this situation with a lot more benefits. You know, it was a hurdle coming in, and although me and Cam do promote, you know, positivity, we're coaches, you'll notice we did have that hurdle at the start. You know, we both was stuck for training, was a bit unsure on what to do, but we overcame that hurdle. And the last thing we want to do, which we focused on minimising, is hit another hurdle going out of lockdown. And for those guys that are training, creating that routine is only going to minimise that hurdle going out. Because when we create hurdles, we're putting barriers on success and, you know, rate of progression.
The only thing that's going to change for me and all my clients is when the gyms reopen, you go from training at home to training in the gym. The routine stays the same, everything else will stay the same, and doing that is just getting the benefit of training in the gym again. So essentially things are only going to get better when this is over by optimising the time that we've been in lockdown.
Yeah, and even if we start, you know, going into the actual, you know, the science of it, if we look at, you know, drivers of hypertrophy, if you don't have access to a barbell, I can leave a link in the description below. You know, you can get bands on Amazon for £15. What we're then able to do then is look into, you know, drivers of hypertrophy. We've got metabolic stress, we've got muscle damage, so, you know, working in higher rep ranges, we can still create hypertrophy. So another misconception people seem to think going into lockdown was it's just either a period to slack off or not make progress, or you're going to lose all your gains, when it's really, really far from the truth.
Yeah. It's enjoyment as well. A couple of people say, well, I don't enjoy training with bands, I don't enjoy, and it's like that's fair enough, because I can understand that. Like, I genuinely can. I didn't enjoy training with bands at the start, but that didn't mean I didn't do it. Yeah, because in the back of my head all the time I'm thinking, well, this is going to end eventually, and I'm going to have to get back in the gym, and I'm going to have to start going through those movement patterns again, and building up from nothing versus building up from training with bands and having, like you said, the metabolic stress, still having those movement patterns ingrained in me. That would be a better position to start building up from.
Of course.
So you have to be thinking long term all the time. Like, this is going to end. And it's just a case of how good a position you can you be in when this ends.
Yeah, it was never designed to be permanent, so we want to readjust and be adaptive to current situations, but we don't want to adapt permanently. We always want to have that mindset of this will change and it will get better, and this was never going to be normal life. So when I've done a lot of client videos and stuff like that, I'm trying to get them out of lounging around in bed all day, watching Netflix, and focusing on creating a routine so that we can still cater for that downtime. But real life, nobody lives a life where you just watching TV all day, do nothing, sunbathe. Real life is, you know, having to graft, having to go to work, having a goal. So creating a routine now is only going to serve us well going out of the situation.
Yeah.
So obviously going into, you know, your career in bodybuilding, so you've been competing a few years now. What was that spark? Because obviously if you came from an office job, have you always wanted to be a bodybuilder, or was it just a thing that came with the rate of progression, just that, you know, that mindset of being better?
I've always been into sport. So in my young years, just play basketball up to international level. So competition's always been like ridiculously high in everything that I've done. And once that kind of like dwindled out, injuries and stuff meant that just wasn't an option anymore. It was like, you get into the gym, you want to start looking better, you want to start improving your physique. But I had, that wasn't enough competition for me. Like, beating lifts, getting stronger, looking better, it didn't fulfill any competitive drive for me. And then with that competitive drive, and the obvious option was to go into competing. So it was literally the need for a competitive aspect to life that led me into that. And once I stepped on stage, once won a show, understood what like an individual competitive win felt like versus a team one, which is even better. It was like, wow, I am hooked. From there, it's just amplified every time I've competed.
What was obviously the transition, sort of like from men's physique or junior physique going into sort of like the bodybuilding, and what caused that switch? Was it again just chasing more and needing that next, challenge sort of thing?
Yeah, I think as someone who goes to gym who's into bodybuilding, all understand that a bodybuilder's physique is a much more complete, or to look at, I think, anyway. And then it's just, you get to show off more muscle, they're bigger, and that's just, it's always been something that appealed to me, being like that big. And then from men's physique, I took 2 years off after a men's physique show before I went on a bodybuilding stage. And in that time, I went from being natural to assisted. So that came with a lot of tissue, just in that transition, doing everything right. That's when I started coaching with Josh, so things went from good to like even better. And then from there, it was just a case of the way that my physique developed. Like, I've always been one to continue getting stronger. Like, I'll never go into a session and not get stronger at lifts. And that, in turn with just listening to what Josh said and doing what my coach told me, when my men's physique stage weight was like 172, and then my bodybuilding stage weight was 214. So that in itself, like 40 pounds of tissue, is going to look like a hell of a lot. And as that's just a couple more off seasons on top of the last time I stepped on a bodybuilding stage, has meant that scale weight's massively higher again. I've gained a decent amount of muscle, and the only option really is bodybuilding.
So obviously, in terms of, so you've prepped yourself for shows, you've had a coach to prep you for shows. In terms of the two there, what lessons have you learned, and sort of like what are the benefits of each phase?
Prepping yourself prepping myself wasn't more difficult. Because you can almost slack in some areas, but then you can be very harsh on yourself in others.
100%,
Like when you're completely beat up, and you can almost talk yourself into, I need a refeed, and you literally talk yourself into it, and that can obviously be detrimental if you don't need one. But then as well, you can look at yourself, and sometimes you can look at a physique and think, right, you're going too hard, pull cardio back, put food up a bit. Sometimes you think, nah, you need to go harder. So I ended up doing like 90 minutes of cardio a day, like just completely grueling it out. Whereas when coaching with Josh, he has that eye that looks at it from not being the one whose head's mashed on prep. He can say to me, right, we're going to have like a 3-day refeed and we're going to pull cardio back. And I'm like, what? I'm on prep, I shouldn't be doing that. But I do it and my physique looks better for it. You've got to understand that it's the right decision. But I think the deeper you get into prep, and anyone who's been there, your head is mashed. Like,
I can imagine.
Sometimes can't make decisions for yourself anyway. And I think that's where having a coach, or at least a second set of eyes, is massively beneficial.
I've definitely heard a lot of stories from people that do prep themselves. Often they end up punishing themselves, with either more steps, stupid amounts of sessions, or generally like losing too much too soon, sort of thing. So, but then when we're looking to having a coach, the coaches that have coaches, you never really hear any sort of like horror stories, and the rate of success generally tends to be a lot higher.
I think how much muscle I lost by pushing myself too hard. Like, somebody's training 7 days, it's like you need to go harder. Doing minutes of cardio a day, like, it's like, looking back now, that was completely irrational. But at the time, you just want to do more. Like, when you've done that much work already, you think the only option is to do more. And then it's not, essentially.
Sometimes, obviously, less is more. And you've just identified a lesson there, is you've learned that from what happened in prep to now having a coach will serve you well. So you was able to learn what worked versus what didn't work, and now you're able to, as a coach, sort of by having a coach, you're able to be more accountable for your training, and having that second set of eyes only helps further your progression.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I wouldn't now, as a coach now, I look at things, I always have as a coach, I look at things from an outsider, obviously, but the way that Josh has dealt with me and the way that my coach has dealt with me, or being confident enough to, in the depths of prep, take cardio away and put more food in, having the confidence to make them decisions as a coach is like a big deal as well.
Yeah, of course.
That, to change and potentially change someone's prep up like that, it could have a either way effect.
Yeah.
But as a coach, you have to be confident. Like we were saying, being confident and getting better and better at being a coach is about building that confidence up. And you have to be confident enough to make those decisions.
Yeah, and as well, obviously, we're just we're just making the right investments again, so that people invest in us. Obviously, Josh as well is we're a very well-known coach, very successful bodybuilder. So by you investing in that, with him being a little bit more advanced than you, you're only going to take that skill set from him. The same goes, if I was to get a coach, I would only learn more from him. So it's just continuing that level of progression, increasing knowledge, and just gaining more benefits from it. Definitely. So obviously going back into growing a client base and overall just starting from that first client to that first 10 to that first 20, it's always been sort of like the significant phases. So from that first client to that first 10, what helped you the most? What did you learn the most from that?
I think what you've got to understand when you're first looking for, when I was first looking clients, it was about letting people know kind of like what you know and what you can do. Like if you're a closed book and you're not hammering sort of educational content out and proving that you know what you're doing, people aren't even going to buy in the first place. So at the start, a lot of my focus was focusing on proving through education that I knew what I was doing.
Yeah.
So whether that was like just talking on my story about topics, writing posts about topics, like we said, just being consistent day in, day out, so people knew I lived it as well as talked it. And then that sort of was probably what got me to like my first 10 clients. And then let's say from 10, you've then got 10 people to focus on results with. And then you can start using results as in transformations as builders to obviously prove you know what you're doing. People see it working in other people's physiques. They're going to think, well, he does know what he's doing. He's talking like he knows what he's talking about. He's doing what he's talking about. So I think one thing when you've managed to get like sort of your first 5-10 clients, you then have to be able to shift the focus from all that educational stuff to looking after the people that are in already as well.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
You don't want to kind of be like, right, you're in, here's your program, knock them to the side. I'm just going to keep hammering this educational content out and forget about you because they're just going to leave. Yeah. So you have to be able to give them 100% as well as give the other stuff that. And I think because a lot of people these days who are doing really, really well, if you look at what they're doing, sometimes their social media and stuff can kind of like die down a bit. But they're so focused and engrossed on looking after the people that are already in.
Definitely.
And then when they've got these ridiculous transformations, things like that, all they got to do is post one picture and people are like, he obviously knows what he's doing, because he doesn't even have to speak it anymore. These people are showing it for him, and like clients who almost they become like a little sort of like referral scheme in themselves, because they're tagging you in posts, they're getting the results, they're getting the transformations, they're putting them everywhere, and they're, as a coach, then you can be that engrossed in working with your clients, doing things in closed groups and things like that, and only sort of posting snippets on social media to be like, oh, what's going on there, and then all the stuff that's going on inside is what's churning out these results. People just want in them. And results, you can go from 10 to 20, and then the more people that are talking about you, the more people referring you, it's just an upwards sort of like spiral from there.
Yeah, definitely. I think obviously I've been in this industry since I was young, sort of thing, so I entered this industry sort of like 18 years old, and what I did was, and this is transferred from life to money to everything, my biggest mistake was going and chasing clients. I was always by my coaching, by my personal training, and I was never really offering. So when they was looking at me as a coach, I didn't really have much to offer. But when I started obsessing and chasing over what the clients wanted, so the knowledge, the physique, the experience, that was what started to bring the clients in. So when you go chase clients, you get nothing. But when you have what the clients want, the knowledge, the mindset, that is when you can start scaling, that first 5 to 10 to 20 to 30 and so on.
Yeah, it's like sometimes I'll go a couple of days and not really post anything worthwhile on social media from like a story point of view. But that's because I've had 2 or 3 really busy days of check-ins. I've been doing Q&As and making workouts and things like that, and doing videos for the members site for my clients and things like that. And it's all been going on inside that much that you just forget about the outside. You still post on Instagram and things like that, but it's not as direct because you're so engrossed in your clients and getting them the results they want. But then when they've got the result, they're talking about you so highly. You've got the results to prove it through transformations. It does the talking for you. Definitely does the talking for you.
And with everything being so progressional now, in terms of we can use our own bodies to advertise ourselves now. You essentially are at that stage physique-wise now where you can post a front double biceps and you can probably gain about 5 clients from it. So
people definitely, it's like we were saying about which way do you take your brand and your business and things like that.
Definitely.
And I've definitely gone down the route of kind of documenting what I do. And I'm like as I've discussed this with my business mentor and things like that. And people can buy into an individual as well as like a brand as a whole.
Of course, yeah.
So I like to think that I am the brand rather than it being like something that like Amazon is owned by an individual, that kind of thing. Yeah. I like to think that you can definitely build up a point where people just want to be coached by you as an individual. They've been following your journey, they've been seeing how consistent you've been. Like that in itself is a selling point to some people.
100%. And as well, then what we're doing is we're just adding to our arsenal of coaching. We both still do over-deliver on an educational point of view, but as our training gets progressive and as we document our progress, we're only just eliciting more strengths on our physique. Obviously, when you get your IFBB Pro card, that's only going to enhance, you as a coach, you as a business. So it's just utilising different tools and, skill sets that we can have as coaches that are only going to make us better.
Definitely. It's like it's little things like if you post a video of you squatting and you squat like 100 kilos for X amount of reps, and then 3 months later you're doing that with 180 kilos, and someone's taken notice of that, and 3 months ago you was only doing that, they're going to think, I want to do that, and they've only seen you do it through you documenting your journey, but all before you know it, they're in.
Yeah, and because then obviously what we're looking into, a lot of my clients as well, when they come to me and I look at how they sort of bought into me and stuff like that, they've been following me for upwards of a year sometimes, or even longer, or they've known who I am. Nobody will really buy across coming onto your page for the first time. It's always going to be them following your journey, your client results. So again, going back to consistency, your clients will never buy on that first buy. It's up to us to create trust by daily posting progressions of our training, our knowledge, providing education and free value. Those are all the drivers that are going to get someone to go from prospect to client to full-time client.
Yeah, a lot of people will have, if you have a look at someone who inquires through Instagram DM, you can scroll up and they've asked you 50 questions.
I've had that before, yeah.
You could have very easily thought, this is the 30th time you've asked me a question, I'm just going to completely neglect it. Or, on the flip side, you can answer it in detail every single time, 50th time they're in. So it is a case of that shows consistency again, because they're thinking, he's answered me this many times and knowing what he's talking about every time. I'm in.
And then as well, obviously what you're saying when you're sort of building a circle and letting people know bits from what's going on inside, when they're asking you questions and you're giving these in-depth answers, they're probably thinking, wow, this is what he's giving me for free. I can only imagine what his coaching service is like.
Exactly. Because people know you ain't going to give what you do out for free.
Of course, yeah.
But they're getting from a free social media educational standpoint, get 10 times that inside the actual coaching itself. Yeah,
100%. But I mean, that's essentially what I wanted to cover, the vast majority of this podcast. So moving on to plans for lockdown, what sort of stuff have you got planned, once everything's back open and normality sort of comes back into play?
As an individual, personally, it's going to be a case of using lockdown as a clean-up phase. So from a bodybuilding perspective, I'm going to keep mini-cutting through lockdown, get in a good place, and then after this lockdown, I'm just going to push hard into a pretty aggressive off-season. The last time I was in an off-season, it went really well. So hopefully I get a similar response again. I'm only going to be just as adherent and put just as much effort in. So hopefully that's going to be pretty good. Compete in 2021. This year is just too uncertain for me, especially with looking at classic physique and having weight caps to meet and things like that. Things need to be planned a little bit further than, I don't know if I'm 12 or 15 weeks out. It's got to be a hell of a lot more sort of structured than that to be able to meet the weight, especially because I'm going to be very, very on the limit of that weight. So 2021 is looking like competing for me. And then from a business point of view, mate, I'm focusing everything on my current clients and what they're getting from me at the minute. So we've got the client website, which is just getting hammered with educational content, daily informative content into my team WhatsApp group, just making sure that everyone is getting something more than what they were getting before this, because at the end of the day, as a client, you're looking at this situation, and maybe if you've got a coach and you're thinking, yeah, I've had the gym taken off me, so, you know, I'm not losing the training from a coach, but it's taken a step back. So in my eyes, I thought, right, that's taking a step back for pretty much all my clients. I now have to fill that with something else.
Definitely,
yeah. Of worth to make up for that stepping back. Hence, I've got like weekly workout challenges, weekly Q&As, informative videos on different topics that come up. So I'm trying to fill that void with something else that like equates to the value of that. And that's only going to stay in after this anyway. So it's going to be better again.
Yeah.
But yeah, on top of that then as well, I'm doing work on a members website that should hopefully be coming later this year, and that's not just going to be for clients, that's going to be for everyone. So me and Josh, we film weekly training sessions, informative stuff, that kind of thing. So all that's going to be going on the members website. So a decent amount of stuff coming, to be honest. Like I said, lockdown's given me time to put all this together.
Yeah. And then I assume from sort of like a personal perspective, I can expect a lot more holidays as well.
Yeah, why not, mate? You can't go on holiday in lockdown, can you? So me and Hannah, I think we've got a list, like, as long as our arm of places we want to go. Yeah. So once Hannah's in uni now, so once she's finished all that, we're definitely going to get ourselves on holiday, especially because we're both competing next year. We want to have a bit of fun before we both delve into a proper prep.
Similar plans for me. I mean, I'd say top of the priority is getting a frigging haircut first. Definitely needed a haircut first, but similar plans as well. Hoping to step on stage 2021. So obviously I'd still be a junior. How old are you?
24.
Yeah, so I'm by the time I compete I will be 21, 22. So by that time I'll still be a junior. So just hoping to just nail as much mass as possible.
Definitely. What physique? What category are you thinking?
Junior bodybuilding.
Bodybuilding.
Yeah, because with PCAs, you're a junior till 24. Am I right?
Well, the year you turn 23, I think it is.
Or is it 23?
Or the year you are 23.
Yeah.
Essentially is when you'll go open.
Yeah. So literally just this year. What was that? Sorry.
You'll have an extra 2 years, won't you? After this?
Definitely. So just this year, and if next year is needed, it's just all about mass, laying the foundations to make sure that I'm stepping on stage. Obviously, I don't want to be that guy that says to win, I'm going to take first place, but to at least make sure that I've done everything I can do. And then just from there, just continue growing business. As I'm young, I know that the holidays will come. I know that I've got a lot more work to do, so it's just mainly about business for me, just growing and making sure that I can get that full switch to online coach. That's my biggest goal this year. The holidays can come later on. I just want to tick that box of being a full-time online coach.
Definitely. I think, like we were saying before as well, this is something that I was going to say, this lockdown for one-to-one PTs, it's a very 50-50. You can look at this 50-50. There's two ways you can do this. Like, I've got a couple of clients who are one-to-one PTs, and I've been sort of trying to help them out a bit and things like that through lockdown, and they've actually made the full transition to online during lockdown. And it's a genuine possibility if you do everything that you possibly can to obviously help clients, build a client base. You think about how many hours you've got in a day now that you're not one-to-one PT, and that you could be building an online client base. So this is more than enough time for, like you said, to get started on making that transition to online. If it's something that you're looking at, which as a one-to-one PT, I think most people probably are, because it's quite fashionable these days to move online, isn't it?
Yeah, of course,
That transition could 100% be started now. If you're not using this time to film loads of online content, to do everything you can with coaching sheets and learning and things like that, you're definitely wasting your time, and you probably don't actually want to be an online coach if you're not using it like that.
This phase has definitely shown the coaches that do want this, and the coaches that was potentially looking for financial gain, or just generally an easy way of that laptop lifestyle. For example, me, I'm on the laptop from 8 in the morning upwards till 8 at night, even later sometimes, and the vast majority of that is invested in member sites, churning out content. I mean, I'm posting upwards of 2-3 times a day. That is not going to stop for the foreseeable future. So improving content, improving knowledge, it's all just going to keep going on and help me transition into the world of online coaching.
Like you said, that's habits you've built.
Yeah.
It's time. So you can just push that forward and not let that slip as things change.
Yeah.
And you'll probably find that if that is what you've been doing and you've been hammering it like that, you'll be, after this, you'll be online before you know it. You'll be one of the first people to make that switch, because people will be watching you start your consistency with that kind of stuff now.
Yeah.
I'm watching it now, you're ahead of the game.
Definitely. And then as well, we're just looking at, where we both came, the stuff that we used to post, the physiques, the journeys, obviously, from seeing you back at Pure Gym and watching you transition online. That's only going to be more motivating, and I can relate to you as well. So because you've done what I'm about to do, it just makes it, I'm slowly creating that support network that it's just going to be so beneficial for growth.
Definitely.
100%. So that essentially wraps up today's episode, guys. Is there anything that you want to sort of add on to that? Obviously, I'll put your Instagram and links and everything below so people can check out your profile. But is there anything you want to add on to this episode?
No, that's sweet, mate. Thank you for having me on.
No, mate, it was a pleasure, and like I say, you're someone that I would definitely like to have on again, sort of, at the end of your off season, assessing, your competition season. So it'd be definitely good to have you on in the near future. So do look out for that. And as well as that, people, a big training session once this is all over. Another training session is on. Some sort of heavy deadlifts or something. I'm going to need it when we're back. But so that wraps up to this episode, guys. Thanks for listening.